the world will put you in situations where all of a sudden you have to choose. And it's in those choices that we discover what our values really are.
Being the best at what you do in the world in which you live is enormously valuable. That if you're going to go buy a bagel or call a locksmith or anything in between, who are you going to call? You're going to call the best one. Being third is worth very little. How do you become the best one? You don't quit when everyone else does.
Entrepreneurship is just one of those jobs that really violently, deeply depends on getting it right. You have to know what reality really will entail. And in so many other kinds of business, you can kind of get away with stuff. You can mistreat people. You can, hide it in politics. There's so many ways to make money, to have success in business without actually creating any value. But if you really want to create value, then you have to be intimately connected with the truth about who your customers are, what customers want, what the economic environment that they inhabit is. And you have to be able to figure out how to build an organization that can put your principles into practice, whatever those principles are, whether you care about quality or design or health or you name it. You have to be of service to real people to create real value. So I'm really proud of the fact, I feel like Lean Startup has, from its inception, really stood for those principles, iterative development, scientific thinking, and humanistic values.
What questions are you asking that are different from what everyone else in the industry is asking? Because the questions you ask are the problem you solve.
I would encourage anyone who's not necessarily feeling confident about asking questions and being inquisitive in their classroom or their workplace, start with just one or two questions. Start with one or two people that you think will be receptive to a question. And then that's kind of how you're going to build your confidence. And you're going to realize more often than not, people have interesting things to say when you ask them questions.
Find something that you're willing to die for and then live for it.
Biggest thing I'm asking people to do is to find someone else and talk about it. Don't hide your strategy. Strategies are different than tactics. Tactics, they can be a surprise. They can be an advantage if they're a secret. Strategies, we know what Nike's strategy is. We know Netflix's strategy. We know Starbucks' strategy. It's not a secret, right? And can you tell me what yours is?
Before you start any project, anything, ask yourself 3 questions. Why this? Why now? Why me? Why this is essentially says that, God forbid, I am actually successful in solving the problem that I set out to solve. Would it help 1 billion people live a better life? If you can build any product, any service that helps 1 billion people live a better life, you can create $100 billion company.
Plans are about you exercising your agency and authority. We make a plan and then we work to make it true. Strategy isn't that. Strategy acknowledges that there are other people, that there are other systems, that what we're thinking of doing might not work. And it's hard to talk about that. To say, I'm going to go build these assets and go on this project, and it might not work, but this is my strategy. So instead, we default to following the crowd, whatever the crowd is doing.
Ask yourself what had changed in the last 2 or 3 years. More importantly, what do you expect to be changing in the next 3 to 5 years that will allow you to solve this problem at scale in 3 to 5 years, and this problem could not have been solved 5 years ago. And the reason to do so is to always think about, are you using yesterday's technology to solve tomorrow's problem, or are you actually intercepting tomorrow's technology to solve tomorrow's problem? So you always want to make sure that, are you actually riding the wave of exponential technology you are in fact, or you're being crushed by the tsunami that's coming.
How do I know when to keep going versus when to pivot, when to change course?
My answer is, first, has anyone else ever made it through this dip? Has anyone else made it through the darkness and gotten out to the other side? So organic chemistry is a bear. No one likes organic chemistry. You have to get through it to get into medical school. It's a dip. They built it, not because you need organic chemistry to be a doctor, but because they need a lot of people to drop out. So if you know that, when it gets hard, you can say, good news, this is hard. Now I know why it's here. If I can just make it through this on the other side, things will be better. Okay, that's different than saying, I'm going to be the first person who becomes a billionaire making YouTube videos, right? It looks like, Mr. Beast has finally figured out how to get almost there, but 1 out of 500,000 are bad odds. So if that's not a path, that doesn't mean you shouldn't try, but it means you should go in with your eyes open saying, there's a big chunk of lottery ticket here, that this isn't a well-worn path where I get through a dip and then I'm going to be fine. This is a really difficult path that's probably not going to get me to where I want to go. If you're on social media and you are listening to the crowd, it's either going to make you feel bad or it's not. If it makes you feel bad, it's because you're taking yourself seriously. If it doesn't make you feel bad, you're building too thick a skin, and that's not going to help either. So the way that I think about this is I take the work very seriously, but I'm working hard to not take any given individual's response to the work too seriously, because all that means is they didn't get the joke.
Making money happens when you're actually doing things that make people's life better. In this framework, you never want to focus on how. You focus on what is it that needs to be done and not how you're going to do that. And the reason many entrepreneurs fail is because they start to think about how they're going to do that. And most experts who start a company, they say, I don't know how to do it, so that means I'm not going to do it because it can't be done. Whereas someone comes along from outside the industry, they say, I understand what problem needs to be done. I'm going to find the right people to help me solve that problem. I may not know how to do it, but it's a problem worth solving. Break down a big problem into smaller chunks of problem, and then you start to see what problem is already solved, what problem is incremental, and what is the problem that yet to be solved. And if you can solve that, then you know everything else will fall in place.
The world will put you in situations where all of a sudden you have to choose. You can't have both. In your fantasy, when you're thinking the fantasy plan of your startup, of your business, of your career, of whatever, you get to have it all. Your product is infinitely cheap and everybody loves it. There's no customer segmentation. Every customer loves it equally. It has no externalities. The press writes nice things about you. You win the Nobel Prize. Like, all the good things happen to you. But in real life, that's not how it works. In real life, you have to choose. Do you want to serve this customer or that customer? Do you want it to be high quality and expensive, or low quality and inexpensive? Do you want to have it be this business model or that? Do you want to write something that, build something that the press loves but customers hate, or vice versa? We often have to choose. And it's in those choices that we discover what our values really are. So even if someone says, like, I think your product sucks, what they're really telling you is about what they want in their product. It's really not what you made for them. If they tell you you're a bad person, that doesn't necessarily reflect a moral failure on your part. It just reflects their perspective. Like, that's what they feel and think.
Don't look at the life as success or failure. Redefine what success is. Your self-worth doesn't come from how much you own. Your self-worth comes from how much you create. So if you own a lot and you haven't created anything, you're still a parasite on society. So don't be a parasite.
If you're not first, you have to be different. What I see kids doing is just replicating the same business idea over and over again. So if you're not first, you've got to be different. How are you different? Well, who's your market? Do you really understand who your market is?
The point is that when you're going somewhere in a car, you're like, of course I want a destination. Then why don't we replicate that in business? And Zuckerberg did. And that's what I do. And that seems to be the thing that works for specifically for business, probably also for life. Like, where do you want to end up and how do you work backwards from there?
I've always believed that if time is my most valuable asset, I should spend more time managing my time than managing my money, right? Like, I should have a really good relationship with my calendar and making sure that I'm putting and getting out of my day everything that I actually want, desire, need, and be relentless with your calendar and your time. Because it's in the breaking of those patterns that we actually get the success we want.
If you're lazy, there's nothing that can help you. Nobody ever had to motivate me in my life. I've never, ever been corrected for making a mistake in my 51 years in business. Never once. I'm always the most prepared in the room.
You hear all these, like, I'd say fake entrepreneurs or fake coaches. They don't actually have any real businesses. They're like, you got to 10x today and you got to 5x. If you're not 5x, then you're failing. And I was like, I've done that, but it's also interesting. What if our goals now for AppSumo.com is to grow 10% next year. And it's been that for quite a lot of time. And the reality is when you set less ambitious goals for yourself, you can stick with it for longer because you're not burnt out. You're not tired. You can sustain. And then by having less ambitious goals, you also have creative freedom because you're not stressed about hitting a target. And that gives you the ability to create 10x opportunities because you're like, okay, cool. I'm not worried about making money in that, but I can go do things that potentially, be moonshots and really drive the company for the future.
Oftentimes the things you chase elude you. And so if you chase the right thing, you ultimately get what you ultimately want.
For 10 years, I was focused on one thing, to the exclusion of my family, my God, everybody. It was just one thing. I wanted to be super wealthy, as I defined back then. And most of my net worth was created during that period of time.
It's just go out and do something. Like, take that next step. There are so many people I talk to that get stuck, right? And where do they get stuck? It's like, okay, I need a business plan. I need to do this. I need a first customer. Yeah, okay, right? But like, how about just call someone and ask them, do you want this service, right? Like, after that, will you pay me for this? Like, little steps along that journey. That's the advice that I think is most powerful compared to worrying about all the other stuff. It will all come in time. Just do any little step to move forward. Otherwise, a year from now, we're going to have the same conversation. I don't know what to do next.
Exchanging your time for the things that matter most and are the most valuable to you often brings the wealth that you ultimately want.
You cannot get ahead in this world as a social animal dependent on other people in every aspect of life unless you treat that as another skill as well. So yes, the process of looking inward is absolutely essential, but you cannot disconnect yourself from your teachers, your mentors, your colleagues. You could have all the skill in the world and know your life's task brilliantly, but if you continually alienate people by your boorish behavior, by your insensitivity, all of the skill level in the world will be completely neutralized by your own mistakes.
Find something you love. Find something you're passionate about. And only surround yourself with other people that are passionate about the same thing. And then if it's work to you, it's not worth pursuing.